Hey everybody. Um, I'm sitting in the car, bundled up, going to make a quick video. The video I made 2 days ago felt so good. I was like, man, I have to kind of keep this momentum going and just keep pushing myself to speak. Sometimes I wonder, like, if I'm feeling, I know this might sound crazy, but I swear sometimes I think that I can feel like residual energy, like in my cells and in my nervous system from being like burned at the stake in a former life. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but I don't know where this anxiety and just fear comes, and it feels so cellular. And I don't know if it's like, whoa, I'm like feeling, past. I was like a heretic in a past life or something, or maybe it's just that I was really I really bought into all these systems, with I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I bought into that system and just this whole structure. And like I said in the other video, we can all feel it. It's changing. A lot of things are like crumbling, and things that, I always wondered growing up. It's like in the back of my mind, being like, a good girl and getting good grades and, all that stuff. I always wondered in the back of my mind, like, man, is this it? Like, am I missing something? Why does it feel like from the get-go that there should have been more, Um, and I never felt like I fit in any way. And in the church, one of the downfalls about being raised in a family of faith is that you run the risk of, what if your family's faith is not a fit for you, and that's not how you find a higher power, or you find a relationship with God, is through the faith that was instilled with your family. And that was the case with me. And so I was like, man, God's not returning my calls. I must be the problem. Why? And I would look around and I would wonder why I couldn't feel or didn't feel the same connection, or any type of like transcendence that everybody else seemed to feel so naturally. And so, of course, I was kind of told, and it was implied that I was the problem. I must have been doing something wrong. I needed to pray harder, get right with God, go to confession, and just do, it was like this milestone that I could never reach. And then after a while, I got really resentful. As soon as basically I hit puberty, I never felt close to God in any type of like traditional sense. But then once I hit puberty, I was like, okay, I had that typical like, Christian Catholic like teenage resentment. And I've said it before, there's no such thing as like a modest atheist, um, but we are going to believe in something. We are. All of us are going to believe in something. And the Catholicism and Christianity and just the church and my family's faith was not the path for me. So I went the opposite way, which is towards the state. And it's like we're giving these options on this scale, and it's like church or state, church or state. And I think together, like, they work, being like, man, we'll take this group, and whatever group doesn't fall in with us, you can take the rest. And it's like we're taught to like worship one of these two things. And at the end of the day, they both felt so empty, and for 20 years, I was like a hardcore disciple of the Church of State, where I just thought, I was all about basically the Democrat Party and just everything, the causes. Like it just made sense. I was like, yeah, I'm going to follow this. And then I came of age. I was in high school and 9/11 happened, and George W. Bush, and, the Iraq invasion, just all of that. And I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was really, I had something to believe in, like with being anti-war. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you protest, or if you like rally, or if you are like the best debater in town, or like if you, get out your picket sign or whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do. And at the end of the day, I always felt so empty. And I was like, man, is this it? And with college, that was such, as I mentioned before, I was like, okay, this is like my time. And it wasn't. I was just always like left like with this emptiness inside of me that I had felt pretty much forever since age 4. Truly, I'd always been self-aware, and my entire sense of identity was based on like comparing myself to other people. And I found like when you compare yourself to anything external, I don't know, this is my experience at least, I automatically came up on the short end of the stick. I never compared myself like, wow, I'm really, I always compared myself to people who I thought I didn't measure up in one way or the other, and so I just felt like ill-fitting, and life was like so empty, and I could never like feel this like emptiness, and I felt like I didn't belong anywhere at all. And so of course, it's like the typical tale of like relationships and bad love, and bad love can be very addictive because it's intense, and it has a lot of emotions, and it can be very much like a drug. And especially if you have low self-esteem, it's like a hit of attention or whatever. And plus it's just nice to go through life with like a literal and figurative partner in crime. But it was all I never actually felt fulfilled or whole or like I belonged. And in 2018, when I was almost killed, when I went into fight or flight mode, it was incredible to see in real time, and to then live through this hellish experience and be able to look back and be like, wow, I could see myself acting from this carnal place when I was literally in the act of fighting for my life. But in the back of my mind, I could see like my animal instincts taking over. I was basically an animal, but behind that, I was this consciousness that was kind of like in this fight or flight, almost like meditation, because I didn't know it at the time, but I knew I was observing my thoughts, but I didn't really know the gravity of what that meant. That as I was fighting for my life, I was aware that I could see my thoughts in layers. Um, I was acting and reacting from a primal core to live. It was the first time in my life when I was literally fighting um, for my life. It was the first time like I was acting offensively. I wasn't just, reacting. I was actually acting for myself, and I wasn't second guessing. I wasn't in my head. I wasn't comparing. I was just living. But behind that action, I could see my thoughts. And wow, talk about like an epiphany. That's the biggest thing really. So many things come from a life or death experience, but the biggest takeaway was like truly, as Eckhart Tolle said, we are, our thoughts are the clouds, but we are the sky. And the depth of that knowledge and wisdom is amazing. And I lived through this experience, and I know the emptiness that led to the experience that changed my life. I know the emptiness I felt before, and I know that, okay, I am not just, my nerves. I'm not just my bad days or manic feelings or feelings of unworthiness or anything that happened in the past, anything that's going to happen. We are just ourselves now, and our thoughts are 100,000% valid all the time, but they are accurate necessarily none of the time, And I'm like, wow, I'm just now really trying to grasp what that means, that we are not our thoughts. Like, we can have control over our mind if we are conscious and deliberate in our actions and in our states of being, And I have been telling myself this and really trying to live from this place of presence and being being present and thinking of myself even when I feel down, like, okay, stopping myself, like picturing like slamming on the brakes in my own mind and stopping my thoughts consciously and saying, okay, I feel like this, I feel this way, but that's irrelevant, it's valid, but it is completely irrelevant to the big picture. It's just it's just a thought. We are so much more than that. And um God, we're like so lucky to be alive right now, you know to be raised in this system and in this society where it was so sick, and everywhere I turn it's like, oh, didn't measure up here, didn't measure up there. You never make the cut when you're looking outside of yourself. And now it's like, finally we can see everybody who like didn't feel like they had a place in this world. It's like, well, thank God, look how sick that this world is. Maybe it's going to be up to people like me and probably you, if you're actually like listening to this, who just felt like, man, there has to be more, and just always kind of felt like that nagging um, lack of belonging and kind of unworthiness, and just a lot of deep emotions, and like, where do I fit and what is my place? And it's like, when you stop trying to fit in and just kind of be in the present moment and just accept yourself as you are, it's just such a beautiful thing. And I think it's going to be that type of presence that allows maybe like the outcasts and the wallflowers and stuff, and people who just felt like that they didn't quite belong. It's going to be that type of thinking for people like us, like the weirdos that might be part of something great, in a world that's based on more of love and less on like judgment and stuff. And all the bullshit from the past. At least that's what I'm hoping. And yeah, I guess that's about it. I just wanted to make another video to keep trying to push myself and push through like the fear, and it's still there, the deep-seated feelings of not quite good enough, or unworthiness, just kind of a self-confidence issue that's been there seemingly since in utero. So I'm working through it, but just to keep that in mind, the bottom line, that's what I do. That these are our thoughts, but that's not us. And if we are something deeper than our thoughts, holy shit, that's incredible. And that's going to be what's going to change the world for the better. So y'all have a good night.